The big story is actually quite a positive story. And a lot of it revolves around technology. And the key thing that I'm going to talk about now is really about megatrends. And the challenge with big innovations and big opportunities often is the trick to move not where the puck is, but where the puck is going to be. Now, that's a quote from a guy called Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky was a Canadian ice hockey player. They tell me he had no teeth, but they tell me none of the ice hockey players have any teeth. And Wayne Gretzky had one of the most prolific goal-scoring records in ice hockey. And one of the comments he made was, "You miss every shot you don't take." Kind of obvious, right? But this comment about being where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is critical. So in 1999, I joined Standard Bank. "Hey, Jacko, we need $100 million. We're thinking of building something called internet banking." And Jacko goes, "Internet? That's gambling and porn, right?" So let me get this right. You want to do secure financial transactions on the biggest channel for gambling and porn in the world. And most of it's running out of Russia and Estonia and Bulgaria. Am I getting this right? Yeah, that's right. 100 million. Sign here. And then we, in the mid-2000s, said we need some money for mobile. And mobile, really? You want to put financial transactions onto something where there isn't even a PIN, and if whoever holds the phone holds your money. Is that what you're going to do? You're going to connect your salary to this thing. Now, you really want to do that. And then we went into mobile, into money transfer. And in every instance, folks, these things turn out to be true. So today, internet banking in this country does 8 trillion rand a year. 8 trillion, 4 times South Africa's GDP. Mobile banking is probably doing about 30 to 40% of that volume in the consumer space. Virtual airtime top-up today is probably 30 to 40% of all airtime top-up, which makes it a 30 billion rand industry. Virtual money transfer in this country is already a 15 billion rand industry. And at the time these things were launched, it was not obvious that these were going to be huge industries. And part of the trick is to understand the signals that tells you there's about to be something big here. We're going to talk about the current status and some of the big megatrends. Some megatrends around demographics, resources, globalization and competitiveness, and infrastructure. But the real thing that's changing Africa is the role of technology in bootstrapping a fundamental change and shift in the structure of the African economies that we look at. There's some really interesting lessons and takeouts for South Africa and for South African companies. Is this still the stereotype for Africa? They called it the dark continent, deepest, darkest Africa. Is that valid? Yes, because infrastructurally Africa has serious issues. I mean, yesterday there was a big conference. The CEOs of MTN and South African SAB Miller both made the same point, that in order to roll something out in the rest of Africa is a challenge. You know, there are challenges around asset ownership. There's challenges around regulation. There's challenges around infrastructure, getting power, getting connectivity. Yeah, we rolled out ATMs in Nigeria, 60% uptime, mainly because of the fact that the power kept tripping. In South Africa, we run at 96%. So there are serious infrastructural issues, and so some of these challenges continue to be true, especially, for example, in the case of power. Is this true? This is a map of where the money is. So the redder it is, the richer it is. And you can see that money always clusters close to water. Okay, so the reason that money, there's obviously an affinity between money and water, and for obvious reasons. Because the way in which wealth was created for the hundreds of years was through trade. And trade occurred right on the coast. So if you go and look at where all the money in the world is, it's right next to water. And so when you start looking at this, and you start looking at Africa, you say, well, there's no money in Africa. Well, is this true, and is this likely to remain this way? The fact of the matter is, folks, that Africa is already a $1.6 trillion economy. There are 1 billion people, it's growing at 5%. If this was Asia, this would be India. Yeah, that's the kind of continent that we're living on right now. So what is a megatrend? A megatrend is a huge trend that's occurring in the background. Most of us focus on the noise, not the signal. The difference between signal and noise is signal is the purity of the message, and noise are all the statistical fluctuations happening around it. And nobody's following the fundamental signal, which is gradually progressing. It's $1 trillion opportunity over the next 10 years. And the evolution path that we're seeing in Africa is quite different to the global path. It's different per country because it varies depending on regulations, national industry structure, the demographics of the country. You have to understand the unique needs of customers. Different countries need people to do different things. There's a heavy segment emphasis. So be clear that, for example, Most South African banks in Africa do not bank the poor. They only bank the rich and the middle class. Okay? So understand that there's segment profitability that drives the actions of all South African competitors, which means the bottom end is virgin territory for anyone who's going there. Who's going there? Well, telcos are going there. Because conventional banking doesn't go there. And conventional retail doesn't go there. And conventional insurance doesn't go there. And conventional everything doesn't go there. Which means there's a massive disruptive opportunity. At the bottom, all of these folks are connected. So there's a downside. The downside is if you're in the voice and data business, boy, are you in trouble. Because that's commoditizing very, very rapidly, and no one's making money on data. At the same time, value-adding strategies, by adding all these other things on, are going to become a key differentiator. The point is that the telcos are in a great position to actually play and win this game. They're starting to make efforts in this space. I'm not seeing enough. Bharti is doing Airtel's doing some really amazing things. So don't go where the puck is, go where the puck is going to be. But it requires a fundamental review of your business models. And the lessons for South Africa, in particular, are you really have to open up the ecosystem to open innovation. We're seeing this in Africa now. Is people are sharing. Okay? We share. It's not, this is mine, I built this is mine. It's, I built this for the community. I built this to uplift everyone. Billion of us, we can all have it free. Okay? So this concept of a license fee, what is that? License? What is this? There's a reason that the biggest free software in the world is called Ubuntu. Did you know that? It's about execution, not just strategy. We are superb at developing strategies for Africa, none of which work. There are very few stories that really work in Africa. Lots of strategies, very few execution examples where you said, this has really worked well. If you look at the SAB story, that's great. You look at the story around ShopRite Checkers, that's a good story. You look at the MTN story, that's a good story. But really, a lot of strategy, not too much execution. You really want to unleash the power of technology. Ramp up technology education, folks, because the kinds of students that we are seeing coming out of Kenya, going into their innovation hubs, are just stunningly qualified. Master's degrees, many of them coming back from the States, many of them coming back from MIT, with amazing ideas for African innovations for Africa. Not, hey, I saw this in America, let's build this here. Talk to me about your problems, let's build a solution for that. Making innovation a national priority. The president stood up and put $16 billion into the Silicon Savannah. Embracing these new devices and the changes that they will bring, and then look at solutions with caution. Don't try to import what works. Because a lot of what's happening in South Africa is, well, it's working in Kenya, let's bring it here. It's working in Tanzania, let's bring it here. It's working in Nigeria, let's bring it here. That's not how this stuff works. Okay, that may work in Europe, but in Europe, for example, you've almost got, in a sense, a single set of languages, single set of regulations. It's almost a common environment. The United States is similar. You can't assume that Africa is like that. So although I say that Africa is the same size and growth and profit opportunity as India, the fact is India is, in a sense, a homogeneous country. It's not really. I mean, there are different components to India as well. But in a sense, it is far more homogeneous in terms of the fact that it's got one national government. And Africa's got 56 governments. That's your challenge. And of course, leapfrogging to Africa now is going to be increasingly harder. The flow may actually be the other way. So when I start looking at all the innovations that we're describing, it's very clear to me that there's some great solutions that are coming out of Africa that are going to migrate back into South Africa for us to actually use, and that's maybe a great outcome as well. So to close off, folks, a great story. As you can see, there's a lovely story around the African change, the African growth, the African opportunity. Go and have a look at the number of Africans who are becoming multimillionaires, bootstrapping themselves by building basic businesses from the ground up. So great opportunities for those of us who are prepared to kind of sit back and understand one thing. You can't take what works in South Africa into the rest of Africa. And the fact that there's only one person in this room from north of the Limpopo, and he's white. So gives you some idea of the challenge we already have.